So Carolyn and I have been together almost 10 years. It's been 9 years. It's really hard to believe that we've been together so long. It seemed like my last marriage just went on and on and on. It went on 14 years, but boy, this one just flew by. As you can see, it's just me and the cat now. Carolyn and I met at work. She was a line supervisor and I was the manager of production. Long story, don't want to get into all the complicated matters of it, but we met and ended up dating after separated from my now ex-wife. We got transferred to the other facility. We were in the southern facility. We got transferred to the northern facility, kind of, you know, the Alaska northern facility, it felt like. We basically had to redesign that whole organization. It was terrible and a lot of stress, and it was killing us. So we quit. During that time, we lived in a little farmhouse. I don't know what you would call it. It was 8 acres. It was a beautiful piece of property. Little stoned house. It was built out of stones. And we spent $350 a month on that. It was incredibly cheap. I loved that place. I would have bought it if I could have. It was rented by a guy and his sister, his family, his mother and father had died, passed away, and they didn't want to let go of it, but they didn't want to have to care for it either, cutting the grass and that kind of stuff. So, and I really didn't want to leave it, but we wanted to travel. We bought us a pop-up camper after we quit. Well, actually, it was before we quit, and I'd redesigned the whole thing, got the whole thing set up so it would run perfectly. I just really enjoyed the way we had it set up. And the thing is a lot of what we've done in this house is what we designed in that camper. So we traveled around for nearly a year, and then someone burnt down that pop-up camper. And the pop-up camper wasn't too bad. We were worried about how it was going to stay warm, so we decided that we were going to stay in warmer climates during the winter. But that didn't work out. The very first winter we had to come back to Missouri. One of her family members got sick, so we had to come up and care for her, and it was frigidly cold. The coldest we got in that camper was 17 degrees outside temperature, and we actually was able to keep it pretty warm with the little Mr. Heater portable buddy and a space heater. We had a space heater. We paid some guy to let us park in his yard. Well, then went back down to Florida. I don't remember all the sequence and the dates and all that, but anyway, somebody ended up burning down our pop-up camper. So we built that little truck camper. I've showed you a truck camper many times, but now it's in demolition mode. We're demolishing it. Hopefully we can get that cleaned up pretty soon. But we built that and put that on the back of the truck. The goal of that camper was to maintain lightweight, because we have a 4-cylinder pickup truck. And it was tight quarters in there. We even had to come back to Missouri the next winter in that truck camper because her family member got sick again. And we were having to transport her back and forth to the hospital, and it was quite cramped, because now there was one time that all 3 of us had to stay in that camper, and I ended up sleeping in the front in the cab. It was just very tight. I would have to crawl over her. She sleeps longer than I do. She stays awake longer than me and then sleeps longer than me. So I would crawl over to make coffee, and fortunately, movement doesn't bother her too much. I don't want to say she's a sound sleeper. You can wake her up pretty easy, but just moving around doesn't seem to wake her up. So that was good in the truck camper. Whereas I wake up to every little thing. I had to wear earplugs. I'm so sensitive. I wake up to everything. We learned how to live in pretty tight quarters and got used to it. I know there was a lot of frustration on her part. Well, I guess both of our parts. When it would rain, we would have to lay in that bed, my head at one end of the bed and her head at the other end of the bed, trying to shower in that thing. Everything was just so inconvenient. So when we got here, this felt like a mansion. Now, we built this ourselves, put it on that mobile home trailer frame, 2x6 walls, so there's insulation. It's very well insulated. And then Carolyn did the interior design. Now, I did the ceiling, and then I did this. But everything else Carolyn did. She bought pallet wood. It's interesting how she did it. Not every piece of pallet wood ends at a stud. So the stud may be way over here, but it ends there. So it gave it this patterning look. I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have had to figure out how to get each piece to match up at the stud. but she gave it a very nice looking staggered look. Pretty solid. I mean, you can move it, you can see it moves, but it works. I wouldn't have done it that way, but I'm glad she did. And then she built these shelves. Now this shelf used to be over here, and I really liked it over there. She's bought another shelf that she's going to put over the wash machine. So that's on the way. It should be here Wednesday. But she built this shelf out of the remaining 2x6. What it was is the siding, the metal roofing material, came in 2x6 crates. They were built out of 2x6s. They were like 30 feet long. They were huge. And she used those pieces to build this. And got a little coat rack here. And then she built another one over here. And this is where we put most of our canned food. I was worried that the canned food would freeze in the camper. We just bought a camper recently. Her son came to stay with us for a while, so we bought that so he could stay in it. So she's kind of moved the entire kitchen down into the camper now, which has really opened up the space in here. Otherwise, we'd have never been able to get this washer. So she cooks down there and does the dishes. But we left the canned goods up here because we were worried about them freezing. However, there is a tray of chicken down there that we left down there kind of as an experiment to see if it would pop loose. And it didn't. They stayed sealed. A little bit more worried about the Tadler lids. I don't know if I would trust those with the freezing. So we have this double-sized bed, and you can see the narrow path. Now we had to turn the freezer on edge when we got the wash machine because we needed to keep the vent from getting blocked, so it would have been blocked over here. Now, one of the downsides of winter is we lose a lot of space because of we want to bring in firewood so to have time to dry out, you know, if it rains or fog, humidity, whatever it is. So we bring it in. We got some underneath the bed here, but that's just part of the off-grid life. Everybody does that who has firewood, but it's a little bit more complicated when you live in a tiny house. So now we don't have quite as much space to get into the cramped quarters, but this is kind of my side of the house, kind of. This is my desk where I edit videos. But then we kind of moved into the kitchen area, but now we don't have a kitchen. So this, like I said, opened up a lot of space, but we have the Berkey. Now those who don't know what a Berkey is, it's a water filtration system. I'll never live without one of these, unless they ban them. I know the EPA or somebody has already tried to ban them in several states now. Berkey has sued the EPA. But as long as they sell them, I'll have one. I have an extra set of filters. These filters probably still got 2 years left on them. I think they're coming up on 4 years, and they still work perfectly. But now this is the refrigerator. It still runs, but we've unplugged it. We don't use it anymore. We do all our cooling in a cooler outside because we don't need to use the electricity to run the refrigerator because we have the freezer. So we can put blocks, soda bottles, and different things with water in there to freeze it up, put it in the cooler to keep things cool in the summertime. In the wintertime, you don't have to worry about it. Nothing's froze yet. Now, when it gets really cold, we'll have to bring the cooler inside and put ice in it so it doesn't get too hot in there. Now, in the wintertime, the stove kind of has to keep its space. But in the summertime, this seems to accumulate a lot of junk on the stove. I wish we wouldn't do that. We just recently painted the wood stove to preserve it a little bit. It was starting to rust pretty bad. And I don't know if you'll see it, but I can still see speckles of discoloration, like that rust is popping back up. But I'll just paint it every year if I have to. It wasn't that hard. Then we move over to our shower. I really had to think about how I wanted to lay out the shower. Now, when we were building this house, everybody said the door to the shower should be over here. But if you really think about it, that eliminates spacing to a larger degree. You can't put anything in front of the door. And you have to be able to get in the shower. So if we put the door of the shower here, then you have to leave that open. So you would have all that space. I don't know, what is that? 70 inches? I think it's 36, 37, I don't know. 70 or 80 inches of space that couldn't be utilized. But if I turn the shower here, then we have two doorways, and then that space, this space here, we can use. So like we had the shelf there. Now we got the wash machine, and And we used to raise chickens right here, but now we'll do that in the camper. The camper has really freed up a lot of space here because the chickens and the cat probably wouldn't mix. I would imagine she'd be pretty interested in those chicks all the time, moving around and making noise. Now our laundry sits on this wall, and I really don't like it, but Carolyn does. When we built it, the house, we got moved in, and I had a closet. There's still a closet there. It's about a foot space that I had intended for the clothes to go into, but she didn't want to put them there. So we asked the audience what did they think. They said, do whatever Carolyn wants. So we hung the laundry there. And Carolyn makeshift everything. She doesn't buy anything. A little PVC, a little bit of wiring, and she's got herself a clothes rack. This is our incubator for our chickens. It's called Nurture Right, and you get those at Orscheln's, or you can get them on Amazon. And that's a really nice incubator. I've used those styrofoam ones before. I love that one. So this area here is kind of Carolyn's area. Now, like I said, she used to have to do dishes. She had a little table here with 2 wash pans, and she would do dishes there. But now everything, all that kitchen stuff's down in the camper. Really opened up a lot of space. This is another idea of Carolyn's, a little shelf that she's made. She doesn't want to buy anything. She's always wanting to take stuff that we already have to make something into it. Now we have a carbon monoxide detector. We got 2 of them. I need to get another one. We took one of them down to the camper just in case something happens. The only time we've ever had it was when we were running the Coleman cook stove inside. We were using it for heat, and it went off, so we decided we weren't going to do that anymore. We have a fire extinguisher over in that corner. Then we have one in the camper. I used to keep one in the truck, but I took the one out of the truck to put in the camper. I need to get another one for the truck. It's not too terribly bad living in here. The thing you have to do is just have patience. One of the things Carolyn likes to do, and she doesn't know why she does it, we've talked about it before, is she'll open up the door and stand in the doorway, knowing darn good and well I need to get out. I mean, for example, we'll say, yeah, let's go to town, or let's go to Dollar General, or whatever. And she'll open up that door and just stand there. I don't know what she's looking at. I don't know what she's thinking. You think, doesn't she know I want to get outside? But I don't push those issues too much. What I do is I've learned a lot of patience, I guess in old age, that it's better just to be patient. For example, if Carolyn is here in the freezer, or when we had the kitchen in this area, she would stand here, of course, doing whatever she needs to do, and I would need to go do something. Well, instead of me saying, move out of the way, get out of the way, whatever, I would just sit there and wait. One of the other things I do is I set an alarm for everything. If the alarm goes off, then she knows that I need to do something. Now, sometimes the alarm goes off, so I need to take vitamins or drink a bottle of water or whatever it is. But sometimes the alarm goes off, which means I need to feed chickens. So then she can have an indicator, oh, she might be in the way. So if she's here and the alarm's going off and I'm getting up, she'll know just step out of the way. But I try not to bother her, because let's say she's knee deep in the freezer trying to get something out, and all of a sudden I need to get out. Well, she's busy. Let her finish what she's doing. I'm not that big of a hurry to do anything. So the less that you got to push each other out of the way, the better. Just be patient. For example, let's say the electric shuts off on us and I need to run down there to see what's going on. Generator died or whatever. I'll say, that's strange, the electric went out. Again, giving her an indication that I need to do something without telling her to move, or saying excuse me, or whatever. If she can make the decision to move out of the way on her own, then we're not in each other's way. And for example, I'll come in and she'll be in the freezer. I'm not going to say, hey, I need to get my chair. I usually just sit right here on the wood stove, have a conversation with her. She knows I need to get through, but she's busy. I'm comfortable. Wood stove's nice. Of course, if it's hot, I don't want to sit there. She's got a chair and sit there. And then recently, as I've said many times, we got a wash machine finally. Neither one of us is very happy about having to get it. Long story, but I've said that the subscribers kind of forced us into it. And once my mother said that Carolyn needed a wash machine, I knew I'd lost the battle. So we got a wash machine. And like I said, we had to move the shelf over to that side. It's kind of good that we got the camper now, because now we have a spot for it. I really don't know what we would have done if we hadn't had the camper. I mean, I guess we could put it on the porch, but it would have froze. But I've never asked Carolyn to leave, except one other time, the tiny house. I've always worked around it, even when Carolyn doesn't get on YouTube at all. I try to do my videos without putting her into the camera shot. So normally she'll just lay over here on the bed while I'm doing a video. But today I wanted to give you a grand tour, so I asked her to go down the camper. But again, I didn't do it where it was demanding. She said, I want to clean that coffee pot. It's starting to look pretty nasty. You know, we have a little percolator coffee pot. She likes to clean the outside occasionally. She says, I'm going to go down there and clean it. I said, okay, while you're out there, I'm going to make a video. I'll let you know when I'm done. She said, oh, don't be in a hurry. I'll just sit down there, and you know, she's got things she always likes to do down there. We just try to work with each other as much as possible, and that's what makes this tiny living so easy. So if you'll click this up next box, take you to a video where I was talking about water. So if I can inspire you to get along so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.